Hey folks, I'm here in Florida at my parents' and I wanted to shoot a little video about my dad's car, his EV, which he's had for the last 2 or 3 years now. This 2018 BMW i3S. Look at this thing. I mean, don't you want an electric vehicle that truly looks weird? At least that's what I'm going for when I and checking out new EVs for the first time. So this car is a 2018 i3S with the range extender, and I'll talk about what exactly that is in a minute. But I thought I'd just give you a little tour of this car. This is a vehicle. The i3s in general have been around, I think, since 2012 or 2013. I want to say 2020 was the last year BMW made this car. But it's a great budget electric vehicle with a decent amount of range, especially if you're looking at the 2018 or 2019 model year cars. So I opened the car up here, just give you a little look at the exterior. I put the seats down, and you know, there's a decent amount of room in the back of this car. And don't you love the way the doors open up? Just like crazy clamshell design here. But there's a decent amount of room in the back of this car. I mean that's just kind of what you get when there's really no engine in the vehicle at all. I'll take you in the interior in a second. But fixed window in the back. This car has a sunroof, which is kind of cool. And yeah, it's like two separate little silos for each passenger and the driver. I think you gotta shut this door first and then close this one. Yeah. But yeah, good storage space. There's nothing under here, I don't think. Yeah, we'll talk about what that is in a second. But yeah, decent amount of room in the back. There's no engine in the car, so you might be wondering what is at the front of the trunk here. And you actually get a little storage compartment. My dad just got some, this is like charging, mobile charging cable in here, washer fluid, I think a tire repair kit, and you can do your washer fluid, obviously, but pretty small front end of the vehicle here. Close this. I'm going to come around here to the side of the car because I mentioned something called a range extender before, and this is not a gasoline engine, even though yes, you do put gas in there, and this little generator it's in the car does require an oil change every once in a while, but this is still technically a battery electric vehicle. It's still an EV, even though it has this range extender component to it. And in the back of the car here, you have your charge port, you know, AC and DC for fast charging. You can fast charge this car up to 50 kilowatt, which means I would not really recommend you take it on road trips, but it is doable to fast charge up to 50 kilowatts. And then you get this additional 90 something or so miles of range on the car with the range extender. So we are here inside of the cockpit, and there's our little sunroof there, or two sunroofs that are currently open. And the first thing that you'll see is this kind of weird look, what's the best angle? Weird looking little shifter here. And you do actually need to manually press start to turn this car on. And if you'll see here in a second, we have our two indicators for range. This is the range extender, which is currently showing 83 miles. And here's the battery range. At full, in the kind of eco mode, you'll get about 120 miles on just the battery. And then, you know, about 83, 90 miles or so on the range extender. So you can really get 200 miles of range in this car. You got your infotainment over here. This kind of displays your EV information, battery information, efficiency, how fast you're going, obviously, all that good stuff. There's not too much down here. We got some nice storage actually in this compartment. This even opens up and you can get additional down there. Parking brake. We have this little shifter which you use to control everything on the screen, which includes Apple CarPlay and has its own navigation, which I'll kind of talk about in a second. Not the greatest in the world. Do all your media. This is not a touchscreen, by the way. I kind of wish this was a touchscreen because some operations with this little dial here aren't the greatest in the world. But you have a couple options here for changing into sport mode and going through different settings, parking stuff, media. I mean, you can kind of go back to the menu quickly by just hitting those buttons. Cup holders, a lot of room underneath here. I mean, this is kind of this floating console here, but yeah, pretty minimal setup, I guess, for the most part. And you got this quirky little shifter which you use to, you know, go into gear and everything else, right? Park, okay. But I will say my favorite thing about this car is the insane field of view. I think you can kind of tell already just kind of looking out the glass here. It's really visible, and you get this like these nice big windows here, which I think add to it. And the sunroof definitely helps a bit too. So super visible vehicle. It feels larger in the cabin than you would think. So I hope you enjoyed my little tour and abbreviated review of the BMW i3. My biggest takeaway from this vehicle and checking them out online in the used EV market, which I peruse often, is that this is a really affordable electric vehicle with a lot of great features. I mean, you're getting the BMW brand, obviously, and things that come with that. You're getting 200 miles of range. You have the peace of mind of this, in this version of the vehicle, the range extender, which adds miles on. You got the capability to DC fast charge. Yeah, it's just all around for a car that maybe you can find for $25,000 or so in the used EV market. It's pretty good. It's really difficult to find something lower than that unless you're looking at some old, 2012 Nissan Leafs with 100,000 miles on them. And this car by all means is more efficient, has better range, and I think can probably fast charge even better than some of these old Leafs. I didn't really talk much about the driving experience, but it's a fun car to drive. I mean, you're getting all the perks of driving an electric vehicle with instant torque. It has regenerative braking, just like most electric vehicles, which really helps the efficiency. You got various modes of sport, comfort pro, normal, whatever else there is, which do affect the regenerative braking of the car. But I think one-pedal driving is one of the best things about owning an electric vehicle, not putting a lot of wear and tear on the brakes of the car. So that's something that this car has as well. So if you're looking for a commuter vehicle, I mean, that's what my dad has been using it primarily for, just going back and forth to work, maybe 50 miles or so round trip. The car will charge to full on AC charging in maybe 4 or 5 hours. It's pretty good. Plug it in overnight. Here in Florida, the electric rates are super low, and they also have off-peak charging, which actually saves even more money. So depending on what state you live in, it might really make sense to own an electric vehicle in terms of cost. But hey, for a car that you could probably get used, that's maybe 3 or 4 years old with 30,000 miles for maybe $25,000 to $30,000 for a used electric vehicle, not a bad choice as a commuter car. Now, some of the cons of this car. One, the onboard navigation, particularly trying to navigate to chargers if you're on a road trip and you're trying to find a fast charger, is not very good. It's kind of a real pain to navigate the menu. I was trying to actually just do it myself to demonstrate, and I couldn't even figure it out. So that's an issue in itself. Now, granted, there's all sorts of apps for your phone to find fast chargers or even, regular level 2 chargers to plug in your car. But that's a limitation, I think, just in the software. And even when you find the fast charger, there's no information for you because this is obviously not linked up to Electrify America or EVgo or ChargePoint. You really need to look at those individual apps on your phone. So it's kind of the difficult thing with owning a CCS vehicle right now is you have all these different companies that are all doing their own thing, and they all have their own slew of issues, and it can be difficult trying to find charging locations, especially in this car, by using the onboard navigation. And you also don't get too much information about how fast the charger is that you're going to. Certainly not how many chargers are operable or in use and all that stuff. So that's just one of my issues with the vehicle. The other thing is that this is really a commuter car. So if you're buying this and you think you're going to take it, on a 500-mile road trip, I think you're going to be in for a bit of a rude awakening when you're trying to do that, because it cannot fast charge very quickly. Granted, the battery size is small, but you're only adding 120 miles of range, so you're going to be stopping often, even with the range extender. And while it is a cool perk to have this generator built into the car, I'm actually interested why do they opt for adding the generator and the weight that is versus adding more battery cells and increasing the range. I mean, there must have been some reason why the car is built that way. But you got to stop for gas to fill the generator, and then also stop at a charging station if you're taking a super long road trip. So this is a commuter car, and I think it excels in that fashion. But for longer road trips and traveling, that's a bit of an issue. But other than those two things, I mean, it's a fun car to drive. It's got great efficiency. I think it's really interesting and unique looking. It's not a lot of people will like this car, but like I said at the beginning, I like electric vehicles that look like electric vehicles. That's my opinion. I like the way that this one is particularly spec'd with the color and the wheel setup. So check it out. GoInCars.com. Take a look at the BMW i3 and let me know what you find. Maybe this will be your next electric vehicle.